Hello friends, I'm Kanchan from Akulmet Technologies and you are welcome to Top Brass. Today we have Sitesh Srivastav. As you know, he has a deep interest in corporate training. He had been training IT professionals, marketing professionals, and also he has a deep interest in radio and broadcasting. So I would like to welcome to Sitesh Srivastav to Top Brass. Sitesh, welcome to the show.
Kanchan, good day to you. Good day to all our listeners, wherever they are. In fact, in this pandemic mode, I am trying to say no good night, no good morning, because we are working more number of hours. So I always say good day. Let us start.
Yeah, that is I think safest uh, safest sentence. Now, as
Yes.
we are talking about communication, and I feel that the words, the written words or the spoken words, are the strongest and powerful force which is available to mankind. So we can make it, we can break it through our words, through our written communication. And I think that languages which are given, which are developed by our forefathers, they are unique inventions, and no language is lesser than any other language. I always feel that in India, especially when we have so many language, and I see the kids are being asked to opt for some language like German or French or Italian. So I wonder, then we have so many languages, then why to go out in search of a language learning, isn't it? I'm not against of any language, because as I told you that all languages are great inventions. But still, these written and spoken words is a force, and we have to really take care of what we are writing and what we are presenting through this our mouth, through the communication.
That's right, Kanchan. I feel that in the last 200 years or so, that is the history that I can relate to. I can actually imagine. I can imagine at the most up to American independence in 1776. Beyond that, it is a little bit tricky to imagine how the things would have been. So, more or less, the language in the modern world, Kanchan, has been around the applicability of it, usability of it, and easy referenceability of it. These are the three factors of verbal communication and the read communication, what we read basically. So yes, you are true. In India, we have multitude of languages, and each language has its beauty, grammar, expressions, and some of the oldest languages come from India, like Tamil and Sanskrit. And I'm really impressed and impacted by especially the Sanskrit, because I did my little bit of a study of Sanskrit when I was a young school student. But I must also tell you that in today's world, it is the applicability, it is the usage, and it is the easy referenceability that takes any language from one place to the another place. So internationally, it is undisputed. English is the king, no doubt about it. But we know for sure French is spoken in many, many countries as an official language. And there are different dialects of French, as well as Spanish and others as well, German too. But I keep telling my youngsters that another 20, 30 years, Asia is going to be the manufacturing hub. And therefore, one or two of the Asian languages the world needs to adopt, because the whole manufacturing will be set in this part of the world. It has been, and it will be more and more as we see it. What do you say?
Yes, I can see that there are many companies from many different countries are coming and setting up their hub, their companies in India. And because I think India is going really forward and becoming a kind of one place, which is very exciting and very happening for maybe for next 10 years. But as we were talking about language and the communication and how to put forward the verbal communication. So as you know, then schools we are taught how to write, how to make sentences, how to speak, what are the good way of respecting elders, how to say, how to communicate with elders, how to communicate with young people. But then still there are a lot of gap when we really look into this segment of communication, which is written or spoken communication.
That's right. That's right. And Kanchan, there. I mean, from a verbal communication point, we all keep on talking, and because that's a natural faculty that is given to us, but to develop it for some kind of a advantage in our personality and as part of our whichever organizations we belong to or whichever communities we belong to. So verbal communication is actually broken down into four different kind of segments. One is the intrapersonal, one is the interpersonal, then there is a small group of communications, and then there is a public communication. Now, the moment we start breaking these down into these segments, we start realizing how important each and every spoken word is. And as I have been telling you, that non-verbal communication is the heart of a communication. The written and the spoken word is the mind of the communication. And the mind and the heart has to go in balance. They should be synchronized. And therefore, these intrapersonal or interpersonal or small group or public group communication is actually needs to be practiced, needs to be developed, needs to be thought through. So think of an Indian corporate executive trying to address corporate teams in South Africa. So it has to be several things needs to be unlearned and then relearned. Similarly, a Western guy working in India, and he has to address the teams in India. He has to use the local contexts and cultural baselinings for the verbal communication. So again, verbal communication is also not universal.
Yes, you have raised a very crucial point that culture also plays a very important role, very vital role in verbal and written communication, because somebody who's coming out in India from outside and then adjusting, and that adjustment only is done through the verbal communication, begins with that. But at the same time, I feel that when we are talking of development of communication, it has to start in the school. That is one, and that best option is that maybe every week or every month there should be a group discussion. There should be something to enhance the knowledge of the language, and when we have the content to speak, then the communication or talking becomes very rich, and it is become admirable also. People admire what you are talking about. So I think three factors which are very, very important. One is language, second is the content, what subject you are speaking, and then the audience, are you taking along your audience also. And this kind of feature should start very early in the life. I think so. What do you say?
Yeah, you're true. You are true. You cannot be more truer than this. And just to add to these verbal segments that we just spoke about, there is a lot of digital communication happening in all these four segments. Now, so far, these four segments before the digital world actually conquered our lives, These all four segments, intrapersonal, interpersonal, group, and public communications, they were more, people facing people. But now in the digital world, we are doing all these four segments using our digital devices and digital connections. So again, the game little bit needs to be changed. The way somebody is standing in an auditorium and is speaking to 200 people, that cannot be the same kind of words, sentences, paragraphs in the digital communication, because most of us are working from home. Meetings are being conducted at home. The large group meetings are also conducted at home. And of course, intrapersonal, intrapersonal is a little bit different, because it is an extremely private conversation which happens inside us. We keep thinking on the certain stuff, we build it in our head, we become the sender of the communication, receiver of the communication, and then if somebody needs to analyze this, that can be said. So intrapersonal is something little bit of a different, but all the other three, interpersonal, the public, and the small group communication, all of that is happening on the digital world. And it is going to happen more and more. And whether we like it or not, the digital communications was in our space, in our working lives for last probably 10, 12 years. We have seen the digital communications increasing. This pandemic time, it has come suddenly to the students' lives. All the students from kindergarten onwards are spending, I don't know how many hours on online studies. And now parents have to keep coping of looking into the screen and seeing whether the child is studying or not, or doing something else. So the communication, the verbal communication today has become very important. And until and unless we understand that it is a mind and a heart connection, verbal communication is the heart, and non-verbal communication, verbal communication is the mind, and non-verbal communication is the heart, then we have started the journey of communicating.
Yes, you have mentioned digital communication, which is very, very prevalent at the moment, especially with this pandemic which is going on. But I would like to add one thing, is that earlier when this digitization was not there, so there was one thing which was very, very prevalent, that is writing a letter. Now this writing a letter to dear one is now, I think, is missing. There's nobody is posting a letter which is full of emotion, which what we are doing, especially that kind of skill was developed from very early in the child's life in earlier days. So what I feel, digitization is fine. We are embracing that, we are taking all technology along with us, but we are sidelining few best practices when it comes to written communication. Writing a letter or going and saying hello to somebody personally. So there's something which is, I think, is missing out. What's your opinion?
True, Kanchan. I mean, yesterday, this brings me, yesterday I was talking to a group of music enthusiasts, and we were talking about the power of the written letter. You remember, we used to written letters, buying it on a piece of paper, writing line by line, thinking and then writing, then cutting it, and then erasing it, and then again writing something, and then filling all the whole page from top to bottom, and then turning it and again writing it. And I told those music enthusiasts, please go into your forgotten cupboards and find out some handwritten letters. Keep them on your palm and try to feel the warmth that was put by someone while the letter was being written, and the person who received it and read it. Of course, the digital communication can never have that kind of the closeness to the heart and the mind as those handwritten notes were. And I must tell you, in the corporate life, I have seen people give feedback to each other, they appreciate each other on emails and on other notice boards or something. But whenever a customer has given a handwritten appreciation note, that person who gets it, he keeps it to his heart and shows it. And the amount of happiness that is transpired through that written word or one-on-one said word is immeasurable.
Yeah, I remember when I was young and I was studying in school, I used to go in any bookshop and find out the letterheads, which are designer letterhead. And when the designer letterheads were there, then writing upon them and sending them was real kind of fun. I was so happy. I always used to feel happy about that. So I think digitization is good. It's cool and it should continue. But I also feel that verbal communication need enhancement by doing writing and maybe side by side also following this non-digitization forms.
That's right. That's right. And the best way to bring it into the our children's and students' lives, young guys' life, is to bring it as soon as possible into their daily life. Whether it is a public communication where we encourage the students to come on stage and talk about certain subjects, or it is even a small group communication where we bring in children together or the students together. Something like that happens in the MBA colleges, which we call group discussion. Something that can be brought into the school level, which can then actually help the students making a thinking of their own opinion. And this becomes, Kanchan, more important with the new education policy that has been launched yesterday in India.
Yes.
And I was telling some of my friends, I mean, if this kind of education policy would have been in our times, we could have done something different, right?
Yes, you are very right actually, and we really remember our olden days, and sometimes we compare because we have children in house, so we compare that so much of digitization, so much of happening in their curriculum, and we had something which is missing, but again they have the missing part. There are something which is missing in current education system also at the moment, because children, especially in pandemic, they are just glued to the computer screen or tab screen or mobile screen. So I feel that digitization and verbal communication, which is physical verbal communication, should go hand in hand, because what I feel that we have a force of words and which we have to use it very, very constructively.
Hallelujah, we should do it.
Okay, as usual, it is so wonderful to talk to you today. We'll catch up tomorrow again, the same topic, and putting across some new ideas and new things in front of our viewers.
Great. I will cherish and wait for the moment.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.